Why is it important to distinguish borrowed words from cognates? Imagine trying to piece together a family tree without knowing who is truly related and who just looks similar. That's what linguists do when they study languages. They look at words to understand how languages are connected or how they influenced each other. But not all words that sound alike mean the same thing or come from the same place. That's why telling apart borrowed words from cognates is so important. Cognates are words in different languages that share a common ancestor. For example, the English word mother and the German word Mutter both come from the same ancient language called Proto-Indo-European. These words help us see how languages evolved from a shared root. Borrowed words or loanwords are words that one language takes from another. For instance, English borrowed the word café from French. These words often come from contact between cultures, like trade or conquest. Knowing the difference helps us trace the true history of languages. When linguists look at a language family, they want to see which words show a real connection and which are just borrowed. If they mistake a borrowed word for a cognate, they might think two languages are related when they are not. This can lead to false ideas about how languages spread and changed over time. It's also important for understanding cultural history. Borrowed words tell us about contact between groups, like trade routes or migration. If we confuse a borrowed word with a cognate, we might miss the real story of how cultures interacted. For example, if a word from Latin appears in a language, it could mean that the language is directly related to Latin or that there was cultural contact. Distinguishing these helps us know what really happened. Sometimes borrowed words look very similar to cognates, especially when languages are closely related or have similar sounds. For example, a Spanish word borrowed into Romanian might look like Latin. Without careful analysis, we might think it's a direct descendant, but it could just be a borrowing. That's why linguists use historical and comparative methods to figure out the true origin of words. From an anthropological point of view, language is a record of human history. Words carry stories of migration, trade, and social change. When we correctly identify borrowed words versus cognates, we get a clearer picture of how people moved and interacted. It helps us understand not just language development but also human history. In short, telling apart borrowed words from cognates is essential for accurate language reconstruction. It helps us see the real connections between languages and the cultural exchanges that shaped them. This knowledge allows us to piece together a more accurate story of human migration, contact, and the evolution of language over thousands of years.